Taeyang wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the fusion drive. Something was wrong. The numbers on his screen showed the engine was running perfectly, but his gut told him otherwise. He had worked on starship engines for 5 years now, and he trusted his instincts more than any computer. The Sejong station floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a neutron star that pulsed with deadly radiation. The station was humanity's pride, a research facility where humans and aliens worked together to push the boundaries of space travel. Taeyang loved his job here, even though it meant being far from Earth. "Taeyang, we have visitors coming." Minji's voice crackled through his earpiece. She was the station commander, a sharp woman who never missed a detail. "The Velcor diplomatic ship will dock in 20 minutes. Make sure everything looks good." Taeyang sighed. He hated these diplomatic visits. The aliens always asked too many questions and touched things they shouldn't. But orders were orders. He cleaned up his workspace and made his way to the docking bay. The Velcor ship was beautiful. It gleamed like polished silver against the blackness of space, smooth and elegant in ways human ships could never match. Taeyang watched through the viewing window as it approached. The ship moved with an eerie grace powered by exotic matter that humans still barely understood. When the airlock opened, 2 figures stepped through. They were twins, that much was obvious. Both had pale skin that seemed to shimmer slightly under the station lights, and their eyes were an unusual amber color. They wore matching ceremonial robes in deep purple. The male walked slightly ahead, his face serious. The female followed with a calculating look in her eyes. "Welcome to Sejong Station," Minji said, bowing slightly. "I'm Commander Minji. This is Taeyang, our chief propulsion engineer, and Wu Jin, our xenobiologist." The male twin nodded. "I am Hyun. This is my sister Hana. We are heirs to the Velcor Empire." Hana's eyes swept across the bay, taking in every detail. "We are here for a routine inspection of your experimental drives. The Empire is interested in your fusion technology." The tour began. Taeyang led them through the engineering sections, explaining the work they were doing. He tried to keep his explanation simple, but the twins asked surprisingly smart questions. They seemed genuinely interested, not just going through the motions like most diplomatic visitors. But something strange was happening. Taeyang felt warm, almost feverish. His heart raced for no reason. He thought maybe he was getting sick, but he pushed through the discomfort. The twins seemed distracted too, glancing at each other with confused expressions. After 2 hours, the tour ended. The twins thanked them and returned to their ship. Taeyang went back to his quarters exhausted. He fell asleep immediately. He woke to alarms blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in his room. His door chimed urgently. When he opened it, Wu Jin stood there, his face pale with shock. "You need to come to the command center now." Taeyang ran through the corridors. His mind raced with possibilities. Had the neutron star become unstable? Was there a hull breach? When he burst into the command center, he found Minji staring at a holographic display. The Velcor ship hadn't left. "It was still docked. What's going on?" Taeyang asked. Before Minji could answer, the communication screen flickered to life. The twins appeared, but they weren't alone. Between them stood an older human woman with gray hair and tired eyes. "My name is Nari," the woman said. "I was born on Earth, but I've lived with the Velcor for 30 years. I'm their chief scientist." She paused as if the next words were difficult to say. "I need to tell you something important. Something that changes everything." The screen split to show complex data streams and energy readings. Taeyang recognized some of them as fuel efficiency reports from the Velcor ship. "When the twins arrived at your station," Nari continued, "their ship's fuel reserves were at 40%. That's standard for a diplomatic journey, but something impossible happened. While they were near you, specifically near Taeyang, the fuel reserves climbed to 98%. Taeyang felt his stomach drop. "That's impossible. Fuel doesn't just appear." "It does if it's being created," Nari said quietly. "I've spent decades studying this phenomenon. The Velcor fuel, exotic matter, it resonates with certain quantum frequencies. Those frequencies are incredibly rare in nature, but humans produce them naturally." Wu Jin stepped forward. "What are you saying?" "Human emotions create quantum disturbances in space-time," Nari explained. "When humans feel strongly about something, fear, joy, anger, love, they generate energy fields. Most species don't do this. It's unique to human consciousness. That energy can be converted into starship fuel, the most efficient fuel in the known galaxy. The room went silent. Taeyang felt like the floor had disappeared beneath him. You're saying I'm fuel? Hana spoke for the first time, her voice formal and cold. According to the ancient laws of the Velcor Empire, whoever discovers a new resource owns the source of that resource. We discovered that you, Taeyang, can fuel our starships. By law, you belong to us. Belong? Minji's voice was sharp with anger. He's a person, not a thing you can own. Hyun looked uncomfortable. Commander, you don't understand. This isn't about slavery. In our culture, becoming a fuel source is the highest honor. Your essence would power ships across the galaxy, touching countless worlds, connecting civilizations. It's immortality. It's slavery, Wujin said flatly. Nari's expression showed pain. There's more you need to know. It's not just Taeyang. Every human has this ability to some degree. Taeyang simply has the strongest output we've measured. But all 7 billion humans on Earth could potentially fuel starships. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Taeyang understood immediately what this meant. Humanity had just become the most valuable resource in the galaxy. And the galaxy had laws that said whoever discovered a resource could claim it. We've already transmitted this information to the Velcor High Council, Hana said. A fleet is being dispatched to Earth as we speak. They will establish mining operations. Mining operations. Taeyang's voice cracked. You mean harvesting humans? We will treat your people with respect, Hyun said, but he sounded uncertain. You will be cared for, honored, given everything you need. Except freedom, Minji said. She turned to her crew. Send an emergency message to Earth. Send it to every human colony. Send it everywhere. Encrypt it with military codes. She looked back at the screen. And get those ships away from my station. We cannot leave, Hana said. Taeyang is our legal property. We will wait here until the fleet arrives. Minji ended the transmission. She looked at Taeyang and he saw fear in her eyes. Fear and determination. We're not going to let this happen. Humanity doesn't belong to anyone. Taeyang wanted to believe her, but outside the viewing window he could see more ships arriving. Velcor warships, sleek and deadly, taking up positions around the station. They were trapped. And somewhere out there a fleet was heading toward Earth. Everything had changed in a single moment. Taeyang had woken up as an engineer. Now he was the spark that might ignite a war between humanity and an empire that spanned hundreds of worlds. The twins said he belonged to them. But Taeyang knew one thing with absolute certainty. He belonged to no one but himself. The message reached Earth in 4 hours. Taeyang imagined the chaos it must have caused, the panic spreading through streets and government halls. He sat in his quarters under guard, not a prisoner exactly, but not free either. Minji had insisted he stay somewhere safe while she figured out what to do. His door chimed. When he opened it, he was surprised to see Hyun standing there alone, without guards or weapons. The Velcor prince looked troubled. May I come in? Hyun asked. Taeyang stepped aside. He didn't know what to expect. Anger, threats? Instead, Hyun sat down heavily and put his head in his hands. I don't understand why you're so upset, Hyun said finally. In my culture, this would be celebrated. To become fuel, to power the ships that connect worlds, it's the greatest contribution anyone can make. When I die, my own essence will be converted. It's an honor. But you choose it, Taeyang said. That's the difference. You're not forced? Neither would you be, Hyun insisted. We would treat you well. Give you anything you wanted. You would be celebrated, revered. In a cage, Taeyang said. A golden cage is still a cage. Hyun looked genuinely confused. Why do humans value this freedom so much? Freedom to do what? To struggle? To be uncertain? We offer you purpose, meaning, a place in something greater than yourself. Taeyang sat down across from him. Because the struggle is what makes us human. The uncertainty, the choices, even the mistakes. If someone else decides my purpose for me, then I'm not really alive. I'm just a tool. They sat in silence. Taeyang could see Hyun wrestling with the concept. It was so foreign to Velcor thinking that he couldn't quite grasp it. On Earth, the response was swift and absolute. President Sora appeared on every screen. Her message broadcast across all human space. Taeyang watched it on his quarters monitor. The Velcor Empire has made a claim on humanity itself, Sora said, her voice steady but fierce. They say we are fuel to be harvested. I say this, humanity belongs to no one. We are not resources. We are not property. We are free people. and we will remain free people no matter the cost." She paused, and Taeyang saw the weight of leadership in her eyes. "I am mobilizing the Terran Defense Fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. If the Velcor want Earth, they will have to fight for it. And they will learn what happens when you threaten human freedom." The message ended. Taeyang felt pride swell in his chest, mixed with terror. The human fleet was small compared to the Velcor Empire. They had older ships, fewer weapons, less advanced technology. It would be a slaughter, but they would fight anyway. That was the human way. Dr. Junho led the scientific response. He was Earth's top physicist, a man who had devoted his life to understanding the universe. Now he had a new puzzle. How did human emotions become starship fuel? His team worked around the clock. Within 2 days, they had an answer. Junho appeared on a video call with the Sejong station crew, his eyes red from lack of sleep but burning with excitement. "It's incredible," Junho said. "Human consciousness evolved differently than other species. We're quantum entangled with dark energy in ways we never realized. When we feel strong emotions, we create temporary rifts in space-time. Hygroscopic, harmless to us, but incredibly energy-dense." Wu Jin leaned forward. "Can we control it?" "That's the question," Junho said. "Different emotions create different energy signatures. Fear produces a volatile, high-output fuel. Joy creates stable, long-lasting energy. Anger burns hot and fast. Love, interestingly, creates the most efficient fuel of all. So we're walking fuel tanks," Taeyang said bitterly. "No," Junho said firmly. "You're people who happen to produce energy. There's a difference. And that difference is everything." He explained his idea. If they could understand the mechanism, maybe they could recreate it artificially, build machines that mimicked human emotional energy without requiring actual humans. It would take time, resources, and most importantly, detailed scans of human emotional patterns. "I volunteer," Taeyang said immediately. "It's dangerous," Junho warned. "We'll need to push your emotions to their limits, measure every response. It could hurt you. Do it anyway." Aboard the station, an uneasy peace held. The Velcor ship surrounded them but didn't attack. Minji used the time to fortify their defenses and establish secure communications with Earth. She also did something unexpected. She invited the twins to dinner. They met in the station's small dining hall. Minji had prepared Earth food, simple rice and vegetables. The twins were curious about everything, asking questions about human culture, customs, beliefs. "Why do you eat together?" Hana asked. "It's more efficient to eat separately." "Because food isn't just about efficiency," Wu Jin explained. "It's about connection. We share meals to build relationships." Hana considered this. "We don't have this custom. Perhaps we should." The conversation revealed something important. The twins weren't monsters. They were products of their culture, raised with different values. They genuinely believed claiming humans was right, even benevolent. Changing their minds wouldn't be easy, but it might be possible. Nari joined them through a video link. She looked older than Taeyang expected for someone in their 50s. Space travel aged you in ways Earthbound life didn't. "I want to explain why I left Earth," Nari said quietly. 30 years ago I was a physicist like Junho, but I felt trapped. Everyone had expectations for me, plans for my life. My family wanted one thing, society wanted another. I felt like I was fuel for everyone else's dreams, never my own. She smiled sadly. The Velcor offered me something different. A place where my role was clear, defined, purposeful. I thought that would bring peace. And it did for a while. But I gave up my freedom to get it. Now I see humans fighting for that same freedom and I realize what I lost. "You can come back," Wu Jin said gently. "Earth would welcome you." "Maybe," Nari said. "If there's still an Earth after this." The Velcor fleet was 3 days from Earth when the first battle began. Not at Earth, but at Mars Colony. The Velcor demanded the colony surrender and prepare for harvesting operations. The human garrison refused. The battle lasted 6 hours. Human ships were outmatched, but they fought with a ferocity that shocked the Velcor. They used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, suicide runs. They turned asteroids into weapons and mining stations into bombs. When it was over, the Velcor had won, but they'd lost 12 ships to do it. The message was clear. Humanity would make them pay for every inch. Aboard the station, Taeyang underwent his first scan. Junho's team had sent equipment and Wu Jin operated it. They needed Taeyang to feel strong emotions while they measured the energy output. Think of something that makes you angry, Wu Jin instructed. Taeyang thought about the twins claiming to own him. Rage flooded through him. The machine screamed to life, readings spiking. Outside the medical bay, lights flickered from the energy surge. Now fear, Wu Jin said. Taeyang imagined Earth burning, humanity enslaved. Terror gripped him. The readings changed, became more erratic, but somehow more powerful. Now joy. That was harder. What joy could he feel in this situation? But he thought of his mother's smile, of the first time he'd seen the stars up close, of Minji's determination to protect her crew. Warmth filled him. The reading stabilized, showing sustained output. And love. Taeyang thought of humanity itself. Not any one person, but the whole messy, stubborn, beautiful species. People who would rather die than give up their freedom. Who fought impossible odds just because it was right. Who created art and music and laughter even in their darkest hours. The machines went silent. Then they started beeping frantically. The energy signature they showed was off the charts. That's it, Wu Jin whispered. That's what we need. Hyun had been watching from the doorway. Taeyang saw something change in the prince's eyes. Understanding, maybe, or the beginning of it. You really would rather die than be owned, Hyun said. It wasn't a question. Every time, Taeyang replied. Hyun left without another word. But Taeyang thought he saw something in the prince's face. Doubt, perhaps. Or maybe respect. The data from the scans went to Earth. Junho and his team began working on the prototype. But they needed more time, and time was running out. The Velcor main fleet would reach Earth in 3 days. 3 days to save humanity from becoming fuel for an empire that didn't understand why they refused to burn. The neutral zone was a region of space claimed by no one. Governed by the Galactic Council, a loose alliance of species that tried to maintain peace. The summit was held aboard a massive station called Harmony, built centuries ago as a place where different civilizations could meet. Taeyang had never seen anything like it. The station was enormous, with sections designed for species that breathed different atmospheres, lived in different gravities, even existed in different dimensions. It was a monument to cooperation, and right now it felt like a funeral home for that ideal. President Sora arrived with a small delegation. She was younger than Taeyang expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She nodded to him as she passed, a gesture of acknowledgement. He was, after all, the reason for this crisis. The Velcor Empress came with a fleet. She was ancient by human standards, perhaps 200 years old. Her skin almost translucent with age. She wore robes that seemed to shift colors as she moved. The twins flanked her, looking small and uncertain next to their grandmother's power. Other species sent representatives. The Rathani, crystalline beings who communicated through light. The Kelsh, who looked like walking trees. The Moran, gaseous entities contained in environmental suits. All of them wanted to know how this would end, because it would affect everyone. The main conference room was designed to accommodate hundreds. Today it felt crowded with just 30 beings present. Sora sat across from the Empress. Between them, on a holographic display, floated an image of Earth. Let me be clear, Sora began. Humanity will not submit to harvesting, mining, or any other term you want to use for slavery. We will fight to the last person if necessary. The Empress's voice was like ice. Your resistance is pointless. We have 3,000 ships approaching your world. You have perhaps 200, most of them outdated. This fight is over before it begins. Maybe, Sora said. But you'll lose ships. Lots of them. And for what? For fuel you could have peacefully if you just asked instead of claiming ownership. That got the Empress's attention. Explain. Sora gestured, and Junho appeared on a screen. We've been studying the mechanism, he said, launching into an explanation of synthetic emotional matrices. The science was complex, but the idea was simple. If they understood how human emotions created fuel, they could build machines to replicate it. The process requires initial templates, Junho continued. Emotional patterns from willing human donors. Not extraction, not harvesting, donation, voluntary participation. We provide the templates, you build the synthesis machines. Everyone benefits, the Empress leaned back. And in exchange? No human will ever be claimed as property, Sora said. All participation in fuel production is voluntary. Humans maintain control of the technology. These are not negotiable terms, Hana spoke up. Grandmother, this is illogical. Why negotiate when we can simply take what we need? Because, Hyun said quietly, surprising everyone. They will make us bleed for it. I've spoken with them. Spent time with the human Taeyang. They truly would rather die than be owned. All of them. That's not weakness. It's something else. The Empress studied her grandson. You've developed sympathy for them. I've developed understanding, Hyun corrected. There's a difference. The debate went on for hours. Other species weighed in. Some supported the Velcor, seeing it as legal under existing laws. Others sided with humanity, recognizing the moral problem. The Rothani representative made an interesting point. If consciousness could be claimed as property, where did it end? Could they claim the Rothani's light-based thoughts? The Moran's gaseous consciousness? During a break, Taeyang found himself alone with Nari. She looked exhausted, caught between two worlds she'd never quite fit into. I'm sorry, she said suddenly. For what? For running away? If I'd stayed on Earth, maybe I could have helped discover this earlier, found a way to make it better before the Velcor learned about it. Taeyang shook his head. You were looking for freedom. That's not something to apologize for. I traded one cage for another, Nari said. I just didn't realize it until now. She explained that she'd been working on the synthetic fuel problem for years, ever since she discovered humans could produce energy. She'd kept it quiet, hoping to find a solution before it became a crisis. But the twins' visit to the station had forced everything into the open. I have data, she said. Years of research. Emotional patterns, energy signatures, synthesis theories. I can help make the prototype work. But there's a risk. What risk? To create the initial template, we need a massive emotional donation. More than the scans you did with Wu Jin, we need to push someone to their absolute limit, capture every possible emotional frequency. It could damage their ability to feel emotions afterward. Or worse, Taeyang felt cold. How much worse? It could kill you, Nari said simply. The energy output could overwhelm your nervous system. We'd be pulling emotions directly from your consciousness. If we pull too much, there might be nothing left. Before Taeyang could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The holographic displays lit up with urgent warnings. Ships were approaching Harmony, and they weren't part of the summit. Do-hyun commanded the attacking force. He was the twins' uncle, the Empress's son, and he represented the old guard of the Velcor military. He believed in the Empire's right to claim whatever resources it found. Negotiation was weakness. Compromise was surrender. This summit is a betrayal. Do-hyun's voice boomed through every speaker on Harmony. The Empress has grown soft in her age. The humans are fuel, nothing more. We will take Earth, and we will take it now. His fleet opened fire on the Velcor ships protecting the summit. The twins' own people attacking them, civil war erupting in the span of seconds. The station shook as shields absorbed weapons fire. Sora was immediately surrounded by her security team. The Empress remained calm, though Taeyang saw fury in her ancient eyes. Traitor, she whispered. Hana was on her communicator instantly, calling their loyal forces. Hyun looked stunned, unable to process that his own uncle would do this. Outside the viewing windows, space lit up with weapons fire. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes. We need to evacuate, Minji said, appearing at Taeyang's side. She'd come with the Earth delegation as a security advisor. No, Taeyang said. If we run now, this all falls apart. The summit fails, the war starts, everyone loses. You can't stop a battle, Minji said. Maybe not, Taeyang replied. But I can give them a reason to stop. He found Junho on a video link. The template. The emotional donation. How fast can you set it up? Junho's eyes widened. Taeyang, you can't. The risk is too high. The risk of not doing it is higher. If Do-hyun wins this battle, he'll go straight to Earth. Millions will die. Set it up. It'll take 20 minutes to prepare the equipment, Junho said. But Taeyang, you need to understand. This will hurt, and it might not work. Do it anyway. The twins made their choice in that moment. They could have stood aside, let their uncle finish the coup. Instead, they coordinated with the Empress, calling every loyal ship to defend Harmony. They fought against their own people to protect the summit. Hana's tactical mind was brilliant. She positioned ships in defensive formations that maximized their shields. Hyun took a more direct approach, boarding a fighter craft himself and leading counterattacks against his uncle's forces. The battle raged around them. Inside Harmony's medical bay, Taeyang lay on a surgical table while Wu Jin and Nari set up equipment. Machinery surrounded him, designed to measure and capture his emotional energy. But they'd modified it, turned it into something that could extract emotion directly. "This is insane," Wu Jin said. "If this kills you, I'll never forgive myself." "If this works, you'll save my entire species," Taeyang replied. "Fair trade." Sora came to see him before they started. She looked at him with something like awe. "You don't have to do this. We'll find another way." "There is no other way," Taeyang said. "Not in time. Besides, someone has to be first. Might as well be me." "History will remember you," Sora said. "I'd rather history remembers us as free," Taeyang replied. The procedure began. At first it was like the scans, just more intense. They asked him to feel fear and he thought of Earth burning. The fear came easily. They asked for anger, and he thought of Do-hyun and others like him who saw humans as things to be used. Rage flooded him. Then they went deeper. Joy, love, sadness, hope, despair. Every emotion a human could feel, pushed to its maximum intensity. Taeyang felt like he was being torn apart. His consciousness stretched thin, emotions pulled from places he didn't know existed. The machines glowed with captured energy. Colors Taeyang didn't have names for danced across the displays. The medical bay's lights flickered, unable to handle the power surge. Outside, Hyun's fighter took a direct hit. His shields failed and his ship spiraled toward Harmony's hull. He managed to eject at the last second, his pod caught by the station's tractor beam. When he staggered into the medical bay, injured but alive, he saw what Taeyang was doing. "Stop," Hyun said, understanding instantly. "You're killing him." "We can't stop now," Nari said. "We're so close." Taeyang could barely hear them. He was drowning in emotion, every feeling he'd ever had crashing over him at once. His heart raced, his breathing shallow. Warning alarms beeped from the medical monitors, and then Nari did something unexpected. She stepped up to the second extraction chair. "Hook me up," she said. "What?" Woojin looked shocked. "I'm human too," Nari said. "Use my emotions as well. Spread the load between us. It might save him." Before anyone could argue, she sat down. Woojin, hands shaking, connected her to the system. Two humans now, pouring their emotions into the machines. The energy output doubled, but so did the safety. The burden shared instead of borne alone. Taeyang felt the moment Nari joined him. Her emotions mixed with his. Decades of regret and longing for home, sorrow and joy. Everything she'd kept buried for 30 years. Together, they created something beautiful. The machines achieved their purpose, a complete template of human emotional energy, mapped and recorded. The foundation for synthetic fuel that could power the galaxy without enslaving anyone. The extraction ended. Taeyang collapsed back onto the table, barely conscious. Nari slumped in her chair, breathing hard but smiling. "We did it," she whispered. Outside, Do-hyun's forces were losing. The twins had rallied the loyalists and the Terran fleet had arrived to help. President Sora personally ordered Earth ships to defend Velcor vessels. An act of alliance that shocked everyone. When Do-hyun finally realized he was beaten, he tried to ram his flagship into Harmony. A final act of spite. Hyun's interceptor, damaged but functional, blocked the attack. The collision destroyed both ships. Hyun survived. Barely. They pulled him from the wreckage more dead than alive. But he'd saved hundreds of lives, including Taeyang's. The summit resumed 3 days later. This time there was no debate. The template existed. Synthetic fuel was possible. The only question was how to move forward. The agreement was simple. Humanity would share the template freely. In exchange, all species recognized human rights as inviolate. No claiming, no harvesting, no ownership. Volunteers could donate emotions for payment, but only on their terms. The Velcor Empire agreed. So did everyone else. The alternative was war with a species that had proven they'd rather burn the galaxy than be fuel for it. Taeyang woke in a hospital bed, Earth's sun shining through the window. He was home, alive, free, and humanity had changed the galaxy forever. Taeyang spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering. The emotional extraction had damaged his nervous system in ways doctors were still trying to understand. Sometimes he felt emotions too intensely, overwhelming floods of feeling. Other times he felt nothing at all, a dangerous emptiness. The doctor said it might be permanent or it might heal. Time would tell. Nari was in the room next to his. She'd suffered similar effects but seemed more at peace with it. She spent her days staring out at Earth, a world she hadn't seen in 3 decades. Woojin visited them both daily, bringing news from outside. The summit had ended, but the crisis hadn't. Do-hyun was dead, but his followers weren't. A radical faction of Velcor military officers refused to accept the treaty. They saw it as surrender, a betrayal of everything the Empire stood for. They'd seized control of several border worlds and were gathering forces for another attack. "They're coming for Earth," Wu Jin said quietly. "Intelligence suggests they have maybe 700 ships. More than enough to get past our defenses if they don't care about losses." "When?" Taiyang asked. 2 weeks. Maybe less. Taiyang closed his eyes. Even victory came with a price. President Sora visited him on his last day in the hospital. She brought a gift, a medal that meant nothing and everything. It was humanity's highest honor, given to those who risked everything to save others. "You don't have to wear it," Sora said. "But I wanted you to know. Your species is grateful." "My species is about to go to war," Taiyang replied. "Yes," Sora admitted. "The radical Velcor won't stop until they're forced to. We're preparing for the largest battle in human history. Earth's entire fleet, plus what allies we've gathered. It won't be enough, but we'll make them remember us." She left him with that grim thought. The twins came to see him too. They'd been branded traitors by the radical faction, exiled from the Velcor throne. The Empress had stripped them of their titles to protect them, a political move that saved their lives but destroyed their status. Hana looked thinner, harder somehow. The battle at Harmony had changed her. "We've been working with your military," she said, sharing tactical information about Velcor weaknesses. "It's the least we can do." Hyun was quieter. His injuries from the battle were mostly healed, but something else had broken in him. "I killed my uncle," he said simply. "I chose your species over my own family. I still don't know if that was right." "You chose freedom over tyranny," Taiyang said. "That's always right, is it?" Hyun looked lost. "In my culture, family is everything. Loyalty to blood comes before everything else. I broke that law. Some days I feel like a hero. Other days I feel like a monster." Taeyang understood that feeling. He'd gambled with his own life and won, but the cost was still counting itself. "Maybe we're both," he said. "Heroes and monsters. Maybe that's what it means to make hard choices." Junho's team worked miracles. In 3 weeks, they'd built the first prototype synthetic fuel generator. It was massive, taking up an entire warehouse, and it only produced enough fuel for one small ship. But it worked. Human emotional templates fed into quantum processors, creating exotic matter without requiring a single human to be harvested. The generator became Earth's best weapon, not because of what it was, but because of what it represented. If humanity could create fuel without being fuel, then the entire reason for the war disappeared. The radicals were fighting for something that already existed, but they didn't care. Ideology had replaced logic. They wanted to punish humanity for daring to resist, for making the Velcor Empire look weak. This wasn't about fuel anymore. It was about power. The radicals' fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly 2 weeks after the summit. 700 ships, just as intelligence had predicted. They came in formation, weapons charged, shields up. This was an invasion force, not a negotiation party. Earth's response fleet numbered 300 ships. Every vessel humanity had, pulled from colonies and outposts across space. They were outgunned, outmatched, and absolutely determined not to lose. Taeyang watched from Earth as the fleets moved toward each other. He was still too weak to fight, but Minji had given him access to the command network. He could see everything, hear every communication, watch humanity's last stand unfold in real time. President Sora commanded from the flagship Sol. Her voice was calm as she addressed the entire fleet. "Today we prove something important. We prove that freedom is worth fighting for, that dignity matters more than safety, that humans will never ever be anyone's property. Whatever happens, make them remember us." The battle began at the orbit of Mars. The radicals attacked in waves, trying to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. Human ships scattered into smaller groups using tactics the Velcor had never encountered. They were messy, unpredictable, willing to take insane risks. One human destroyer, the Busan, had its engines destroyed early in the fight. The captain, a woman named Jiwoo, made a decision. She used her remaining maneuvering thrusters to put her ship on a collision course with a Velcor battleship. The enemy tried to destroy her, but she diverted all power to shields. She hit them at full speed. Both ships exploded. The blast took out 2 more Velcor vessels caught in the debris field. It was the first of many such sacrifices. Human crews turned disabled ships into weapons, used damaged vessels to shield others, made choices that no Velcor commander would consider rational. They fought like cornered animals because that's exactly what they were. Taeyang watched Minji command the Sejong station, which had been moved to Earth orbit for the battle. She'd armed the research station with every weapon they could mount, turning it into an orbital fortress. When Velcor fighters came too close, she used the station's industrial lasers, meant for cutting metal, to slice through their hulls. The twins fought too. They'd taken command of a small group of Velcor loyalists who'd defected to humanity's side. Hana directed them with surgical precision, hitting the Radical Fleet's supply lines and communication relays. Hyun led boarding parties using his knowledge of Velcor ships to strike at weak points. But it wasn't enough. For every Velcor ship destroyed, humanity lost 2. The math was brutal and simple. Earth's fleet was being ground down, pushed back, slowly losing. Then something unexpected happened. Taeyang felt it before he understood it. A wave of emotion swept through him so powerful it made him gasp. He wasn't alone. All across Earth, humans felt the same thing. Fear for their world, love for their species, determination to protect their home. 7 billion humans, all feeling the same emotions at the same moment. The synthetic fuel generator went crazy. Power readings spiked far beyond design limits. The quantum processors overloaded trying to handle the energy input. But they didn't break. Instead, they adapted, evolved, began processing emotion at a rate the scientists had thought impossible. Fuel poured from the generator, enough to power 1,000 ships. Enough to change the battle. Junho was laughing and crying at the same time as he watched the readings. "It's not just the template," he said to anyone who would listen. "The machine is resonating with Earth's population. It's using their emotions in real time. We're all fueling the ships without even trying." The Earth fleet's engines suddenly burned brighter. Ships that had been limping suddenly moved at full speed. Weapons that had been conserving power opened up with everything they had. The tide of battle shifted, but the Radicals had one more card to play. Their commander, an old Velcor admiral named Daehyun, sent a message to President Sora. "If we cannot have Earth, no one will." 50 ships broke from the Radical fleet and made straight for Earth itself. Not to invade, to destroy. They were loaded with weapons meant to crack planets, turn the surface into molten rock. The Earth fleet moved to intercept, but they were too far away. The math was clear. Those 50 ships would reach Earth before humanity could stop them. Taeyang watched in horror as the planet killer force approached. He thought of his mother living in Seoul, his friends scattered across the globe. 7 billion people about to die because they refused to be slaves. He closed his eyes, sent out a thought to everyone on Earth. Everyone fighting in space, everyone who was human. Not words exactly, just a feeling. Love. Pure, unconditional love for the species that would rather burn than bow. On Earth, in space, on distant colonies, humans felt it. And they responded. The wave of emotion that came back was like nothing Taeyang had ever experienced. It wasn't just his love reflected back. It was amplified, multiplied by billions. Every human adding their own feelings to the tide. The fuel generator couldn't contain it. Energy poured out in a cascade of impossible colors. And something new happened. The energy didn't just flow into ships. It formed something in space itself. A barrier of pure force between Earth and the approaching killers. Not a shield exactly. More like solidified emotion, human will made manifest. The 50 ships hit the barrier at full speed, and stopped. Just stopped, held in place by the combined emotional energy of an entire species. The Velcor tried everything, weapons fire, full engine burn, even self-destruction. Nothing worked. They were frozen, trapped in humanity's refusal to die. In the main battle, the Radical fleet saw their planet killers fail. Saw Earth protected by something they couldn't understand or fight. And they saw the human fleet, still battered but unbroken, still coming. Admiral Daehyun made a final calculation. He was a military officer, not a fanatic. He could see the battle was lost. More importantly, he could see that humanity had achieved something the Velcor never had. They'd turned emotion itself into a weapon. "All ships," he said, "stand down. The battle is over." The surrender came in waves. Most of the Radical fleet simply stopped fighting and waited for capture. A few tried to run and were destroyed by the twins' forces. Some, the true believers, chose to die rather than accept defeat. But humanity had won. The barrier around Earth faded slowly, releasing the trapped ships. Their crews were taken prisoner, confused and shaken by what they'd experienced. The rest of the radical fleet surrendered to President Sora personally. Taeyang collapsed after the barrier fell. The doctor said he'd pushed his damaged nervous system too far. He slept for 3 days straight, his body and mind recovering from the impossible thing he'd helped create. Other species controlled their emotions, disciplined them, set them aside when needed. Humans lived inside their emotions, let them drive decisions, turned them into art and music and poetry. That intensity was what made human emotional energy so powerful. Hana became his deputy, managing the logistics of the cooperative network. She'd learned human culture quickly, though she still didn't understand everything. She once asked why humans spent resources on entertainment when practical matters needed attention. Because life isn't just about survival, Taeyang explained. It's about joy, meaning connection. Entertainment isn't a luxury for us. It's necessary. Hana spent a week watching human movies, listening to music, reading books. When she came back, she looked different. "I think I'm starting to understand," she said. "You don't just live. You feel your way through life. Every decision is emotional, isn't yours?" Taeyang asked. "No," Hana said. "Or it wasn't, maybe it is now." She'd changed more than her brother. Hyun had stayed on Earth, but he'd chosen a different path. He lived in a small town in Korea, teaching Velcor refugees about human culture. There were thousands of them now, Velcor who'd defected during or after the war, seeking asylum on Earth. Taeyang visited him one weekend. Hyun had gotten a small apartment, filled it with human books and art. He wore human clothes, ate human food, even picked up the local accent. "I barely recognize you," Taeyang said. "Good," Hyun replied. "I don't want to be what I was, a prince who thought people could be owned. I want to be someone better." They walked through the town together. People stared at Hyun, this alien prince living among them, but most were friendly. Some even waved. He'd earned respect by being genuine, by admitting he'd been wrong, by spending every day trying to learn. "Do you regret it?" Taeyang asked. "Giving up your throne, your family, everything?" Hyun thought for a long moment. "Every day," he admitted. "But I also don't. That's the thing about choices, right? They can be right and painful at the same time." "Very human of you," Taeyang said with a smile. "Maybe I'm becoming human," Hyun said, "or at least becoming free. For my people, those were always opposites. Now I think they might be the same thing." Nari recovered fully from the extraction. Her nervous system healed better than Taeyang's, though neither understood why. She took a position at Earth's new Quantum Consciousness Institute, studying the relationship between emotion and energy. Her research led to breakthroughs. She discovered that different emotions could be combined to create specific fuel types. Love and joy made stable, long-lasting fuel. Fear and anger produced high-output bursts. Sadness and hope together created a fuel that was perfect for long-distance travel. "We're writing an emotional cookbook," she joked to Taeyang. "Recipe for starship fuel. 2 parts determination, 1 part curiosity, a dash of wonder. Serves 1 frigate for 3 months, but her real contribution was theoretical. She proved that consciousness itself was a fundamental force of the universe. Like gravity or electromagnetism, humans didn't create fuel. They channeled energy that already existed, shaped by their awareness and feelings. We're all connected, she explained in her first major lecture. Every conscious being in the universe participates in the same quantum field. Humans just interact with it more strongly, more emotionally, but everyone contributes. Everyone matters. The implications were staggering. If consciousness was fundamental, then harming conscious beings wasn't just wrong morally. It was wrong physically, damaging the universe itself. Rights weren't granted by laws or governments. They were built into reality. The Velcor Empire reformed itself based on this new understanding. The old empress stepped down, and a council took over leadership. They abolished the law of discovery, the ancient rule that had started the crisis. Resources could be traded or shared, but never claimed. The radical faction prisoners were offered a choice: return to Velcor space and accept the new order, or stay on Earth and learn human ways. Most chose to return, but about 1,000 stayed. They became students, learning that strength didn't come from dominance but from cooperation. Admiral Daehyun was among those who stayed. He'd expected execution or imprisonment. Instead, humanity offered him a job. He now trained Earth's defense forces, sharing Velcor military knowledge. He said it was the strangest punishment he could imagine, being forced to help the species he'd tried to destroy, but he admitted quietly that it was also redemption. The memorial was finished on the anniversary of the battle, a massive structure in Earth orbit, visible from the surface on clear nights. It listed the names of every human who died in the war. 3,247 names carved in crystal that caught the sun and turned it into rainbows. Taeyang attended the dedication ceremony. President Sora gave a speech about sacrifice and freedom. The twins laid a wreath, an alien tradition adopted for human dead. Families wept and remembered. Afterward, Taeyang floated alone in the memorial chamber, reading names he'd never known. People who died so he could live, so humanity could remain free. His emotions swirled, complex and painful. Grief, gratitude, guilt, pride. The synthetic fuel generator in Earth orbit registered a spike. His feelings even now powered ships somewhere in the galaxy. The thought was both comforting and strange. Still donating even when you don't mean to, Minji said, appearing beside him. She'd been promoted to admiral in charge of Earth's entire defense fleet. Your efficiency ratings are still the highest in human space. Lucky me, Taeyang said. The galaxy changed because of you, Minji said. You know that, right? Not just the war, everything. The way species relate to each other. The understanding that consciousness matters. All of it started because you refused to be owned. I was just stubborn, Taeyang said. Yeah, Minji agreed. Very human of you. They floated in silence, surrounded by names of the dead and light from the stars. Earth turned below them, blue and green and alive. Free, a new ship was being built in the yards nearby. The Sejong II, the first vessel designed from the beginning to run on synthesized human emotional fuel. It was larger than the original station, equipped for exploration rather than research. Its mission, to travel beyond known space, to see what lay in the darkness between galaxies. Taeyang had been offered the chief engineer position. He hadn't decided yet. Part of him wanted to go to see new stars, to push boundaries. Part of him wanted to stay on Earth, to keep building the cooperative network to ensure what they'd won stayed won. What will you do? Minji asked, reading his expression. I don't know, Taeyang admitted. Isn't that strange? 6 months ago, my entire life was decided for me. The twins said I belonged to them. Now I can go anywhere, do anything. The freedom is terrifying. Welcome to being human, Minji said, echoing what he'd told Hyun months before. That feeling never goes away. Taeyang laughed. It felt good. Down on Earth, in the new Seattle Cooperative, Bora was donating emotions for the 3rd time. She'd discovered she was naturally strong in joy, producing fuel that was particularly pure. Ships running on her donations reported smoother rides, more efficient engines. She was becoming famous without trying. In the Velcor Empire, Hana's sister, Somin, who'd stayed loyal to the old throne, watched Earth's broadcasts with fascination. Her siblings had betrayed everything, and yet they seemed happy. Free. She wondered what that felt like. In a small Korean town, Hyun taught a class of young Velcor refugees about human literature. They were reading Romeo and Juliet, struggling to understand why anyone would die for love. Hyun tried to explain, using his own feelings for what he'd learned about humanity as an example. Some understood. Some didn't. All of them were trying. On the Sejong II construction site, workers installed the final fuel converter. It was beautiful, all curves and light, designed to channel human emotions into propulsion. The ship would fly on feelings powered by the same stubborn determination that had won the war. Taeyang made his decision. He would go. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because freedom meant making choices, even hard ones. Because the universe was vast and strange and worth exploring. He sent his acceptance to the Sejong II project director. Then he visited the cooperative one last time, not to work but to donate. He sat in the comfortable chair, let the machine read his emotions. Hope, excitement, wonder about what lay ahead. Love for the species that gave him this choice. The fuel that resulted was unique, colored by possibility and freedom. Ships would run on it, carrying humans and aliens and anyone who wanted to see what was out there, powered by the emotions of a man who refused to be fuel, but chose to give his feelings anyway. That was the difference. The only difference that mattered. The twins watched the Sejong II launch from Earth, standing side by side. They didn't own Taeyang. They never had. But they were connected to him in ways deeper than ownership. They'd learned from him, changed because of him, become something new. Do you think we did the right thing? Hana asked. I think we did the human thing, Hyun replied. We chose, and we'll live with the choice. They watched until the ship was just a bright point of light, heading toward stars no one had yet mapped, carrying with it the hopes and emotions of an entire species that had proven one simple truth. They belonged to no one but themselves. And that belonging was enough to fuel the galaxy.